Good morning, Quasar Markets. Happy Tuesday. I will be flying solo today. I am your host, Howard Greenberg. Our main guy, Big Beat, is unfortunately getting ready for that hurricane to hit down in Florida. So, wishing him all the best. So, we have me alone today here for the first hour. We do have a great schedule today. We have Jeremy Vreeland and Matthew Tuttle in at 11:30. The guys from Bullish Bears and Tuttle Capital to do their watch list. It's a very intensive technical analysis show where they show you all the levels they're looking at and exactly what they actually look at when they're looking at the charts. Great show. Make sure you tune in for that. And then at 1 p.m., we have Scott Bauer with his Market Mind. Scott's with Prosper Trading Academy, an amazing trader, so many years in the business, and he gives us such great insights every day at 1 o'clock, especially when it comes to options and just everything, quite honestly. So we're excited for that today, too. As we're taking a quick look at what's going on here so far this morning, QQQ is up about 0.33% in pre-market trading. SPY up about the same. So we're seeing a pretty good pre-market start, something we haven't seen recently. Bitcoin tried to get above 63, did briefly break above it yesterday. In fact, got as high as 64.5 before seeing the retracement, but still in a healthy area there. Then we have Gold at 26.46. Tried to make a run back up towards its all-time high. Did not make it all the way there.
Above it yesterday.
So we'll be looking to see if that happens today. What else do we have in the news? China. I actually have to pat myself on the back, a little bit different than some of the folks we've had on the show. I did feel that China is a little overblown. And what I've seen coming from the crypto market is every time you sort of get great news from China, especially in crypto, whenever we were really flying in the crypto markets, somehow they would do what I call the rug pull, the China rug pull. Sort of saw that a little bit today. Markets are down, and you can see the ETF that sort of covers China here from iShares MCHI down 11.21%. As I did say, that rally seemed to be overblown. And as we talked about, Michael C. Litt did a great interview. He's coming back next week for another interview on Thursday with us, and he broke down as the Fed started to cut rates. This is what we'd see, right? We'd see rallies in Chinese equities, but to, take your money and run is what he had advised. I agree with it fully that they have not passed some of the bigger hurdles that they have right now, part of which is isolationist a little bit. They've been their foreign diplomats have not been very diplomatic over the last couple of years, sort of trying to push their way around the world, so to speak, and they've seen some pushback, and with that you would then actually see them also struggling a little bit. We know that their real estate economy is still in the toilet, so I wasn't buying all of the hype. Eventually even the Communist Party can't give all the money to everybody, so that's what we saw, and that does seem to be moving markets here this morning. If we take a look at some of the individual ones that we kind of watch here from China, Alibaba down about 6.9% here, back down to 109.39. Baidu getting hit even a little harder, down 7.84%. JD down close to 9% here in morning hours, and you can just keep going. NEO down 7.66. PDD, which is Temu's parent company, down 8.75. So again, we're just seeing this sort of broad sell-off across most equities. You can track that through this, and part of that is, as we can see, in the last month, these stocks are up 45.5%. So, again, we saw talk from, different analysts that have come on telling us that you could see, these kind of pumps, but that, you got to be aware. You just have to be aware a little bit. Pepsi, and talking about some of the ones we were looking at earlier in the week, down a little bit here, about 0.4% after their earnings. They did have disappointing third quarter revenue, and they did cut their growth forecast. The beverage and snack giant attempts to navigate a weaker consumer spending environment. As Steve has talked a lot about this, part of this too, Eli Lilly and the other weight loss drugs, people drinking a little less soda, trying to be a little bit more healthy. They did talk about that their snack foods were hurt tremendously. They posted a core earnings per share of $2.31, slightly above what analysts had expected according to Fact Sheet. But the profit beat was offset by a miss in revenue that came in at $23.3 billion, below the $23.9 billion estimate again. And as we said, the company trimmed the full year outlook and now sees low single-digit increase in organic revenue, compared with about 4% increase that was previously estimated. So stock down in the last 2 days, almost a point here, and the same time that the S&P had risen about half a point, so you can see it weighing a little bit on the market without a doubt. Other things moving this morning that we need to talk about. SMCI has been on a nice run. Another one that we've talked about here, if you've been listening for the last couple of weeks. We said after that Hindenburg report and, Mark and the shares sort of calmed down, that this was one that would start to bounce back. And you can see, here, up 20 some odd percent in the last 2 days. And after hitting lows of 22.66 in the fall down after that Hindenburg report, it's recovered almost 100%. So again, these are the things that we look for when you see, a stock just get beat up. You got to take a firmer look, a much deeper look into what's happening there and decide, is there actually an issue? Or, is this a buying opportunity? And in this case, for a lot of people, it was a buying opportunity. So good to see that. Some other ones that you might not necessarily think are plays on Japan, but we've talked about them here. Casinos down today. Las Vegas Sands down about 4.18%. Wynn, one of the ones we talked about that both Steve and I are a fan of, Wynn Resorts. I do think they're one of the best in class, but down about 4.51% here. They have huge operations in Macau, part of China, and with the special, the stimulus sort of falling through here, that is, definitely causing issues. As we continue to stay on a sort of bigger level here, have to bring up one of the things I talked about. We had seen the price go up. I haven't looked yet. Brown-Forman, what are they trading at here this morning? Oh, they don't trade pre-hours, so you can't see yet. But Brown-Forman would be on watch for me for one that could drop down today, LVMH. The other main cognac companies are out of France. They're not on the U.S. tickers, Pernod Ricard, Remy Martin, and such. And the reason is China has imposed new tariffs on imported brandies and cognacs from the EU as a response to the European bloc placing its own tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. So the Ministry of Commerce announced that they're imposing temporary tariffs on brandy from the EU to the tune of 30.6 to 39%, which will come into effect October 11th. The new tariffs will just, will hit these French brandy producers really hard. Hennessy, which is LVMH, Martell, Pernod Ricard, Courvoisier, Pernod Ricard, and Remy Martin, which is Remy Martin, all saw their share prices drop. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that as we open up here on Brown-Forman. That's probably the only one that I would think in the U.S. that could have, a play that could have some downwinds from that. Okay, what else were we looking at here this morning? Got a hit on gas, of course. We do see WTI again over 75 here this morning. Most of this oil is again a play on, or is moving up as a result of the Israeli response to the Iranian missile attack. So the gains were we did even hit higher than that. You can see it got up towards 78.52, moving down a little bit today, so maybe a little bit of fears getting alleviated there, but we do know that has been on the minds of everybody. It also, part of that would be what's happening in the U.S. here with the hurricane, Milton coming on its way. Also, that could disrupt Gulf, so that's why WTI would get affected a little bit here. So, definitely oil, keep an eye on it here today without a doubt. Bond yields are moving back up as traders' expectations for the Fed interest rate cuts. So we want to definitely keep an eye there. They're starting to. Let me pull up Fed Watch here. We're starting to see more of a talk that you could see no change in the rates as it comes to November. So we're not seeing it here on Fed Watch. Fed Watch, which is more, is showing an 86.6% now chance that there's a 50 basis point move in November. So that's not really what we're seeing from a lot of the analysts. I saw New York Fed President John Williams say that he wants to maintain the strength in the labor market and the economy. So will we see a move by the Fed? Will we not see a move by the Fed? Is definitely weighing on the market still. Did want to take a look here before we get into the open at the biggest pre-market movers so far today. See if we can find any runners. ALCE I was looking at earlier made a 101% move, but you can see it so far hasn't been able to keep that momentum from the early morning hours. On the 3-minute chart, though, that's not too bad. This is still in play. If until it would break down below 2264, to me, this would still be in play as maybe a move you could get into here on the downside. Or on a pullback, personally, I would be looking for something anything below that 2309 would invalidate the trade that you'd be looking at here, that this can continue to see its breakout and a continuation. I would more be looking, if we get back above that 3267 here, that you could see its next move to the upside. So one in play here. Let's see what else we've got in play. NMHI, Nature's Miracle Healthcare Company, up about 81%. You can see it made its move earlier this morning. What you do see here that you kind of like is it made its first pump, it's made its secondary pump, it made a third pump, unable to break, but then after the swing low here, it then broke back above this secondary mark. So again, this is one right here that is finding support today here, right off of this 2361 level. So another one that's definitely in play. Keep an eye on NMHI. Could be a mover to the upside here. OTRK, another one that made its big move up. So here you can see first move, second move. Question, you're probably in a smaller move, so this would be the time to pick this up here if you're looking for this play, and you'd be looking for it to break that back through that VWAP, or at least up to 3.19. So my play here would be if it could get back above into the range of the VWAP at 3.01, you have a play for this up to about 319. So You could definitely take a look at that. BURU. Let's take a look at what we have going on here. Not liking the way that one looks already. That's pulled back too far. BPTH. Here we go. This is another one still in play. It's had 2 step downs, stepping back up, trying to break through VWAP. If this one gets through 127 VWAP, you could see a move. 127 puts 145 in play. So this is a good one. Could be a one to keep an eye on. Trying. So this is definitely one to keep an eye on. If BPTH breaks through this VWAP, we could be looking for a play to the upside. Back towards this level here that we saw. First level of interest, or where I'd be looking for a take profit, would be 145. Last exit for me would be somewhere in that 152 range. That's a pretty good 20% move to the upside you could look at. It's so far unable to break through VWAP. That's what we're taking a look at here. Need to break through VWAP. VIRI. Let's take a look at this. VIRI. A lot of these healthcare ones are the ones that do it. You can see this one made its second big move up here this morning. Not liking that setup as much. Okay, let's see. That should be, I think I had one more I was looking at. Yang, Y-A-N-G is the China bear play here. Definitely could take a look at that. This was the other one, IBG, Innovation Beverage Group. I pulled back. I was looking at it over here earlier. So that one pulled back. Those are it for the pumpers here that I would be keeping an eye on this morning. Do see copper down a little bit here today. You can see down almost 2%, and it says the Chinese stocks are dragging down the copper play too. So interesting to see. We do know that it did shoot up as it opened up, but benchmark copper prices were down about 2.3% in early trading. Not surprising though. Investors taking some gains from the past month. You know, it really had shot up, as you can see here over the last month. So we do see a little bit of a pullback there. Again, now seeing Fed Williams told Financial Times that 2 more quarter-point cuts over the remainder of the year is a very good base case, but the economy really follows that path. So is he calling for more or less, are the question. And as we are 10 minutes away, seeing a little bit of a slide up here by everything into open, so that's pretty good to see. So far, early morning trading affirm. Holdings up about 5.4%. ASST, asset entities, up about 7.14%. Again, we've talked about Alibaba down around 7%, Baidu down around 7%. DJT has been on a tear here, up about 4.51%. So that is continuing to move up a little bit there. I saw an interesting article that, again, you know, I keep on talking about this as something, I don't know if I call it a problem, but it's definitely a shift that, you know, you want to keep an eye on. And the article was in regards to how Kamala Harris has an unorthodox media strategy, and she went on a podcast. I forget which one it was. Call Her Daddy, and the takeaway that I had from the article was that candidates have to face the reality nowadays that people who follow the news are getting it from all over the place. YouTubers, podcasters, their feed on X. 38% of U.S. respondents said that they avoid the news, and 43% of those said that they actually avoid national politics. But the consumption of podcasts discussing politics and current events has reached an all-time record high in August on Spotify. So, and they're showing that consumption of those, political type talk shows is growing nearly 80% from a year earlier. More than half of U.S. adults said they are at least sometimes getting news from social media, according to the Pew Research Centers, with Americans regularly turning to Facebook and YouTube. So, I've talked about this. There's definitely a change in the way that people get their information this day, and you have to be aware of what's going on in social media and these other things, and that they're a big play, and we're seeing that play out across the markets. What else is moving here in pre-market that we can see? Said SMCI continuing to move up here now, up 7.27% for the pre-market hours. Arcadium Lithium, after earnings yesterday, we did see they're down about 2.4%. Apple on the downgrades, getting a little bit of a bounce back, had a tough day yesterday. So we'll see there. Tesla up about 0.83 here. Again, we see there a lot of coverage on their robo taxi day, whatever they call it, that will be coming out tomorrow. Or Thursday, excuse me. So a little bit of positive movement there. So we said Pepsi down a little bit after their earnings. Companies still going into earnings this week. We're going to talk a little bit more about banks and the like. Let's take a look at the latest analyst upgrades and downgrades that we see here. Seeing one here, HOLX, which is Hologic. Lyric Partners analyst Puneet Sudha maintains Hologic with an outperform, but lowered the price target from 95 to 90. No pre-market trading there here, but you can see still some room towards that analyst expectation. Seeing a couple when it comes to the market makers here, or the exchanges, whatever you want to call it. CBOE, Piper Sandler analyst Patrick Moley maintained CBOE with an overweight and raised their price target to 220. You can see they're coming in on that, so down even a little bit on that news. Maybe people wanted to see a little bit more of an optimistic move there. 5 below the retailer. Mizzou analyst David Bellinger maintains them with a neutral rating, but raised the price target from 85 to 90. So below where it's at trading right now could be why we see it down almost 3% here in the last 24 hours. Did see when it came to TerraWolf, one of the Bitcoin mining companies, which has been down almost 10% in the last 2 days. Rosenblatt analyst Kevin Cassidy reiterated TerraWolf with a buy and maintained a $5 price point. Doesn't seem like much, 4 to 5, but that's a 20% move to the upside that they're seeing there. We might have to take a little bit of a closer look at what's going on in the Bitcoin mining companies this week, see if we can't find anything exciting there. Do want to point out DoorDash. Whoops, it's Dash. I always do that. Is up a little bit in pre-market hours, and DoorDash announced that they have a partnership with Wegmans. So the local commerce platform announced an expanded partnership with Wegmans Food Markets, huge in the Northeast, going down all the way to North Carolina. And they now said that Wegmans will be available in DoorDash or through DoorDash in all Maryland Wegmans. So that's a big deal, for that company. So we'll see how that goes. Wegmans is definitely a popular chain in the Northeast. We saw Match Group, MTCH, down about 0.37. They got their price target lowered to $35 from $38 by Wells Fargo analyst Ken Gawecki. So I'll see that moving down a little bit here on that. Groupon was another one that had some changes here. GRPN down about 1/4 point after being up about 10%. And it's, 4 analysts' insight on Groupon have come out, 2 of which were bullish, 2 of which were somewhat bullish. So that's pretty, good overall for them. So they had a nice move up yesterday on that announcement. The analysts covering that are Bobby Brooks over at Northland Capital Markets, Seth McGowan at Roth MKM, Bobby Brooks at Northland Capital Markets, and Seth McGowan at Roth MKM. And I see $20 to $28 as their thing. So definitely some room there. Last time we talked about a stock with that kind of ability was Micron, and we've seen what that has moved. So, while I don't want to take everything that one analyst says, when we start to see a group of them with a similar, theory, that is when I think we definitely want to be taking a look at the market and seeing, is that an opportunity to get in on? Got to take a look at what's going on with Amazon today. AMZN, if I can spell it, would help. Amazon here. Up about 0.64. I'm sure most people know that today starts Amazon Day. What you might not know is that 83% of U.S. households now shop with analysts. Analysts now shop with Amazon. That's just amazing to me. 83% of households now shop with Amazon, which analysts say is directly related to their push into everyday essentials. And I know that, I know one of the things my wife is looking at today is buying our general stuff, our dish detergent, our laundry detergent, toothpaste, all of those things, because you get some of the best deals of the year. So we definitely see that, in a recent PMG study adds weight to the argument, pointing out that during Amazon's recent July Prime Day event, the health and household category grew in terms of share of sales, while such categories as electronics, apparel, and accessories declined. I also see that market research and Numerator noted during a recent pre-Prime events, Amazon's top sellers included cat food, dishwashing products. So again, those are the things people buy, but those are the things people need. So what will we see today? That will definitely be what pushes their market share up today. And we do see it moving in the right direction to start so far. We are right about 1 minute away from open here. Let's get ourselves set up to take a look at QQQ, SPY, and the tick on open. Those are the 3 things we look at right here as we go. Less than 1 minute. 1 minute till open here. What are we going to get? I do think we see a little bit of an update today, so I am thinking a little bit up. Here we go. Tick opening up down about 63. That's not bad. Yesterday we opened up down about 600, 700 on those initial opens. Here we go. Tick going positive. Tick is going negative. QQQ 0.48 caught a little bit here at 930. What will we get? Market's not making up its mind so far. Bitcoin at the open, first tick sort of to the downside. Seeing a little bit of selling. We're still positive on the tick here. 87 right now, 61. So it's feeling a little bit of positivity on that. VIX down a little bit here at open, although you can see in the 3-minute it actually did take a little bit of a move up in the last hit here. Now at 21.91, will that break the 22 handle today is the question. I know it did break it yesterday, got above 23 briefly. Tick still positive, 114, so moving up. Let's take a look and see if we can find what the individual stocks that are moving up or down are. As we said, Baidu, some of the Chinese stocks losing their luster today after the, we'll get into that article in 1 second, but after they announced there wouldn't be any more stimulus here this week, that was expected. So we see Alibaba down 6.33, Baidu down 7.24, Neo down almost 9% here. PDD down 6.75, and we know that got hit yesterday also. So this has dropped from a high of 156 down to this 152, and trading almost at lows of the day. Let's take a look at that early pumper I was taking a look at, BPTH. What's that doing at open here? Do we get a positive pumper here? Biopath Holdings, it's trying to move here. You could see it. It just broke through VWAP, so I'd be looking at it for a move up towards this 137 to 145 range. Could see a pumper here, already up 50%, but it's definitely got room to go back up. You know, its high was 130 already today. Let's see what happens here. I do think that is one to keep an eye on. We were watching ALCE, another pre-market pumper here. That one definitely lost down. I said you could see that retrace towards this 0.2309. Looks like it is headed that way. So that's what I see here on ALCE. NMHI, another pre-market pumper here. Definitely lost all momentum here. We talked about it. We talked about how it had lower highs, and now that one's gone. That one is gone. Take it off of your lists. OTRK, what will we get out of OTRK? There's a runner for you. Here we go. We got a runner now up 80%. Look at that. We talked about this one in the pre-market. We showed how it was forming a nice little bottom here, and now look at that move. Unable so far to get above that 337 top of the VWAP range. That's what we're looking for. This gets above 337. Look for it to run. This is the spot in the sand here. It is trying to make it. Let me blow this up here. You can see these volume coming in. We need to see more volume. If we're going to make that move, I need to see another volume click here on the 3-minute in a range that we saw here in that 930. If we're going to make that run, try to get back up towards the highs that we saw earlier, 369. But nice move so far, losing momentum right at the top of that VWAP. So right now we got to think that 330, 340 range is going to be our key resistance to keep an eye on. But that one is running in the right direction. Let me add that to today's watch list if I already haven't. I have not. OTRK. We will definitely keep an eye on that. Let's see what's going on with the tick here. Tick has gone negative here. So the tick has gone negative about 200. SPY up about 0.34. QQQ 0.43. Let's take a look at the Qs on this 3-minute here. Main thing I'm watching is to see what happens around the VWAP this early in the day. Let me take that super guppy off so we can actually get a better view of that. So the VWAP currently at 484.15. And we're getting, oh, we're going down. So we're not even challenging the VWAP here to open up. Let's take a look at SPY. Another one, nothing challenging the VWAP so far. RUI did move up here, so we're seeing small caps move up a little bit. Bitcoin getting a bid here, so Bitcoin, like yesterday, we're seeing that catch a bid. Nice move up through the VWAP, nice move up through the top of the VWAP, and nice move up to highs of the day at 62,786 here. Nice move up by Bitcoin. Love to see that. Love to see that move up by Bitcoin. Amazon now up 0.54. OTRK, look at that run. We called that run here. It just made a hit up to 342. So you would have hit that first spot we looked at already right there. Boom. Gotta love to see that. You saw that here live. Take a look at ALCE. What is it doing? It's pulling all the way back to that 0.23. So here's the question. You can play a bounce on this here in this range, and look, it is bouncing up. Could make a move here. Now you'd be looking for a move back to that 3267, but that would be a nice little move up here. I mean, that itself. That's a 35% move to the upside if you can play that there. See a nice move up by Delta, and we see that Wolf has raised their price target to 57 from 52, maintaining an outperform rating. Bernstein increased its target to 65 from 62. So we are seeing some movement here on Delta Airlines. What else are we seeing here across the market? Seeing Walmart announces new centers are opening in Georgia and Arizona to offer pet care offerings. We've seen Wolf, we've seen Chewy move, so Walmart trying to move more into that pet food offerings here. And they're going to also have online vet and prescription delivery. So new centers opening in Georgia and Arizona as Walmart reinforces its commitments to offering seamless, convenient, affordable pet care solutions to customers. That's a pretty big one to keep an eye on. You know, we've talked about it yesterday. Steve prefaced that with the fact, and you can see up 0.63% here on that move. Tick is still negative here, but we are trying to move back up into the positive. QQQ is catching a bid here. Got through that big VWAP pretty nicely we were looking at, so now you could see it run here. Question is, can it get over 480, 491 high of the day? That would be a sign on that one. You can see SPY trying to break through VWAP here on the 3-minute chart. So in the short term, we are trying to see a battle here. We are seeing a battle to try to move up a little bit. Apple up 1.16 now, almost at highs of the day. 222.42. We talked about that this morning. Looking to see what else we have here on our big movers. We've actually been all over those ones. Seeing KACL with a stop to a halt. Let's see what we got there. KACL with a halt. Down 10%. Not enough volume there to see anything. I don't know why that's halted. Also see an SOBR halted. SOBR. Oof. You can see that drop to the downside 24%. See an article here. China's growth is set to slow next year despite the temporary boost from stimulus. A warning from the World Bank that China's economic growth rate is expected to decline further in 2025 despite its temporary boost from the recent stimulus. This is why I said I didn't trust that, that at all. And I will say part of that is not really on me. I was a lot of the analysts that I listen to here that have been on the show talking about the reasons why that is. The international lender estimated that China's growth rate would drop to 4.3%. Next year, down from projected 4.8, and we know they want to be above 5%. They, is Chairman Xi's sort of mantra there. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Also seeing gas. On the gas market, oil market, Russia's 4-week crude exports climbed to the highest since July. So Russia trying to fill that void out of the Middle East. So definitely something to keep our eyes on there. See what Nvidia is doing here. We know that's been moving the markets one way or the other. Nvidia up 2.18% here. Did get hit a little bit, but still moving up in the right direction. Ooh. One of Steve's favorite, Disney, DIS. You can see down about 0.68% here. As Hurricane Milton is headed towards Florida, Goldman Sachs has estimated that the newly classified Category 5 storm could have an adverse impact of up to $150 million to $200 million at Walt Disney World's park and experiences in this quarter. The potential loss is primarily attributed to the expected drop in domestic attendance at Walt Disney World, with projections now suggesting a 6% year-over-year decline in attendance growth compared to an earlier estimate of a 2% decline. So Disney under a little bit of a hit here. Tell you what, it's one of those ones that we talk about. Could be a nice wish list entry here at $90. If you can get down to that level towards the 200-day MA. So definitely one I would be keeping an eye on as we head to that 200-day MA. Okay, we are about 13 minutes in. I'm not going to say nothing burgers so far, but we started the period up about a half a point on SPY and QQQ. We're still there. Tick is positive. Every time I say that, it tries to change, but it is still positive here. VIX moving down a little bit, 21.89. Bitcoin back below 63 here, 62,800. So it is trying to make a move back up. It had hit lows of about 61,986 earlier. Gold 2640 right in the middle of its trading range here. WTI now down under 75 on the lows of the day. So we do see a little bit of a drop there. iPower, some of the solar companies getting hit a little bit, or EV companies down about 3.36 here. This had made a move to its high of about 237 here last Wednesday, and has retraced since. So seeing that come down a little bit. Take a look at Dell here on the daily chart. Another one that came down towards its 200-day MA has bounced back nicely. Novo Nordisk down a little bit today, so healthcare getting hit. I'll be interested to see here in a minute when my heat maps all update as to what we have there. Seen another stop, Lays. Lays has got stopped yesterday. LASE. So here's this one. There goes a runner. It's trying to be a runner, that's for sure. This one has pumped before. You can see the move it made back here the end of September. So this is an interesting one. LASE here. Definitely could be a runner. This is one tough to chase, but fun to watch. Lunar, LUNR, nice move up here, 5% on the day. So we're seeing some tech stocks getting a little bit of a move to the upside here. Okay, let's hit up on some of the other news here of the day that I thought was important. IPOs, I talked about this a few times over the last couple of weeks. We got 9 new IPOs this week, so 9 new IPOs. We hadn't seen much, but you know, right now the IPO offering market is welcoming 9 deals this week, trying to raise about 1.4 billion overall. Kindergarten operator KinderCare Learnings and Brazilian company Move Lubricants Holdings are the first 2 on track. KinderCare, which will be symbol KLC, is looking to raise $600 million, offering 24 million shares, looking for a range of $23 to $27. About 118 million shares will be outstanding after it goes public, and their market cap would be about $3 billion, making it one of the biggest deals of the year. I can tell you, as someone who has a young child, KinderCare is, you know, one of the nationwide companies that you see that provides kindergarten, daycare, preschool, you know, in a lot of different markets. The company attempted to IPO in 2022 before pulling the deal, and is now planning to trade on the New York Stock Exchange. It did restructure its business to shed poorly performing centers and seeking out better opportunities to attractive markets. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Barclays, and JP Morgan were part of the team of 12 banks that were working on the deal. They are also backed by Swiss private equity firm Partners Group Holding AG, which had bought the company in 2015. KinderCare is hoping to benefit from need for early child care. We had seen, you know, since sort of they started their valuation, PLCE, if I'm not mistaken, is the children's place, had seen that real big move up. It's been retracing, though, ever since, but we did see this, and they had gotten, you know, a move up from $4.80 to almost $20 before retracing here, so we had seen that. The second one is going to be Move, which is MOOV on your tickers there, specializing in making and distributing lubricant products for a range of end markets. It has clients in the automotive, agricultural, and industrial spaces. Company was part of ExxonMobil's Brazilian lubricant business. So it is looking to raise about $400 million, offering 25 million shares, priced at a midpoint between $14.50 to the $17.50 range. We have a valuation of about $1.8 billion, and they are looking to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange also. That's being led by JP Morgan and Bank of America. Interesting. So we got a few of them getting ready to launch. There are some other smaller deals, and among them we have Ceribell, CBLL, a medical device maker, uses the technology du jour, artificial intelligence, to monitor patient seizures. The Sunnyvale, California-based company set terms for its IPO earlier, with plans to offer 6.7 million shares at about $14 to $16. They would raise $100 million at the midpoint of that valuation. They are looking to be listed on the NASDAQ and Bank of America Securities, and JP Morgan are the joint book runners on that deal. So we see that. Lastly on the list, I also see Renaissance IPO ETF is up 12.5% here to date. So something to keep in mind on. These are the companies that are listing new. And you can see the move. It's in a nice channel there, moving to the upward side. So again, those are some of the ones we're taking a look at here this morning. Let's see. And oh man, OTRC, the one we were called out earlier, look at that move up, now up 129% here. We told you about this when it was bouncing here off support at that $3.303 level. Now at $4.21. You saw that live here on Quasar Markets this morning. I made that call out to watch this thing for a move back up as it consolidated after its first pump up this morning. It took a second attempt and was getting a nice range of consolidation here in that $3 to $3.03 change. Said if it broke through that VWAP at $3.21, follow it. Look at that move. It went all the way up to $4.36, now at $4.14, and still trying. $4.16. This one still has legs. It is still moving to the upward direction. You saw that call out here on Quasar Markets today. I think the others, the early market, are now making a move to the downside. We had seen Alice up 120%, now only up 48% here. It has moved down. That is out of range now. It dropped below that 23. I did tell you here when it was up and it had made that drop down to watch for a drop to that 23 level, and it did move all the way down to it and even a little bit lower. So again, both of those call outs here this morning. The other one we said lost its momentum was NMHI. Made its third run up, and that was it. It's over. Interested to take a look, see what Napa is trading at here today. 1096. As we know, Napa is going private. The Duckhorn portfolio, they are going to go private, and their sell share is, it's now right at it. I think it was $10.20, so it's actually trading above that. Remember, we do have earnings this week coming out on Tilroy, so we're definitely going to want to keep an eye on Tilroy. Trading pretty flat here on the day. Tick is now negative here, and we are seeing a little bit of weakness. VIX holding right up towards that 22 range. Small cap moving in the right direction here, up about 0.37. Bitcoin can't hold 63, trying to get above it here. So Bitcoin at highs of the day. So seeing another strong day here for Bitcoin, which should have MSTR. You know, my favorite proxy for Bitcoin for those that want to play an elevated move. Sure enough, up 3% here this morning and running. MSTR, as you know. I'm going to tell you right now, that breaks 192.34. Watch out. 192.34. You could see a run up here on MSTR. China stock still getting hit here, not recovering very much. JD down still 8%. Alibaba down still 7.59, so even losing a little bit more momentum here. Again, China trade unraveling here off of that rally. Got to play them quick and hard here if you want to be in those trades. NEO now down almost 10%, just hit lows of the day. Nike continuing to drop here. We've seen that fall. Yet to find a bottom here. NVIDIA with a nice move up 2.5% so far here. Oracle's made a little bit of a move up here again. You can see over the last week or so. We talked about Oracle isn't the most exciting. In fact, it seems to be one of the more boring when it comes to huge, tech companies. I mean, their market cap is $476 billion. But, and Larry Ellison, one of the top 3 or 4 richest men in the world. But you don't hear about it the same way you hear about the others. It's not a sexy product. Costco up 1.46 here. I am a fan of Costco. Been calling that when it came back down here again. This is the one Scott Bauer called it. buy it at the 200-day MA. It has bounced above that level here and moving up 1.44% today. So again, Scott Bauer brought that one to us last week, said to keep an eye on it. Let me pull up the other one, IMW. No, IWM, sorry, got my dyslexia in there. IWM, which is the Russell, which he liked if it approached this 200. It hasn't hit it yet, so this one's still not in play. Again, he was hoping to pick that up in that 214 level, so that one didn't make that play. I will say he was looking at maybe shorting WTI. That one definitely did not work out. Tick back to nicely positive here, 319, a little bit of a burst here, and you can see it in QQQ now up 0.71, so we're getting a little bit of a nice run up here. Whoa, there you go, highs of the day on the QQQ. Highs of the day on the SPY, so we're hitting some of the highs of the day. Bitcoin towards the high of the day. Gold and silver not. Towards the lows of the day on silver, gold dead in the middle. What is oil doing? Oil's towards the low of the day. Amazon still moving up towards the highs of the day. So we are seeing a nice little run here by some of the tech stocks. Berkshire up about half a point. They did announce Berkshire did sell off another 9.6 million common shares of Bank of America in 3 transactions. So getting even further out of Bank of America, which is interesting as we're going to head into earnings here this week. We know we have JP Morgan on Friday along with Wells Fargo, Bank of New York, Mellon, and BlackRock, I believe, was the other one that I was looking at here. And this was a little article that I saw in Barron's talking about that the largest U.S. banks should be set to report bigger hauls out of their investment banking operations from a year ago, buoyed by the gradual return of lucrative deals like we just saw, mergers and acquisitions, along with IPOs back in play. We know that JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo's, which are the first and third largest U.S. lenders, are scheduled to report their third quarter earning results on Friday. Then we are followed by Bank of America, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, and Goldman Sachs the following week. Debt and equity issuances rose broadly during the third quarter, and completed mergers and acquisitions were flat, while U.S. equity initial public offerings more than doubled from a year ago, as we just said. This came from Moody's ratings analysts in a report they wrote this week. Even though IPOs were still historically low during the quarter, those dynamics should boost the investment banking revenue. That's why I started with that and segued into this. JP Morgan analysts said in a report that they preferred how big money center banks were positioned ahead of earnings reports, in part because of the solid investment banking outlook as the key driver into the next quarter. Slower increases in credit losses and a strong economy add to the analyst reviews. What I'm going to be looking to see, and what we saw Stephen Flanagan talk about yesterday here on the show, is are there any more write-offs? Do we have a lot of loans being written off? Are they worried about the state of their commercial loans, of their more than their commercial loans, their mortgages, their car loans, their credit card debt? What are they thinking there? So I will definitely be very interested to see what that is. We're going to look a little bit more. I'm going to do some research and do a little bit of a longer review on JP Morgan going into earnings. It's one that I have kept an eye on over the last couple of years. And what I've noticed is even on good earnings reports, so if we go back to their earnings from April of last year, they had a beat of 6.43 on EPS and revenue up about a half a point above estimates. And we saw a drop on that from 193 hitting as low as 177 before it started to rebound. Again here, Actually, that one they went up on. So that one they did. The last earnings reports, they did go up. I'm looking for the other ones. Here they are. So then we look at January of last year. They had a miss, and you can see that drop went all the way from 173 down to 161. And again, I'll point out the one below that, October 23rd, they had a 10% beat on EPS, beat revenue, and dropped down. My theory on that, or my thesis, is that they tend to have too much expectations going into earnings reports by investors. And when they get the earnings report, and Jamie Dimon, who's been fairly pragmatic, and he doesn't, do a lot of hyperbole talk. He's not a big hype guy. We've seen it drop even on good earnings. Even, again, this one was a 20% beat on EPS. And the stock only went up from like 144 to 148. So I guess what I'm saying is I personally will probably play this to the downside. I think that there is a lot of expectations that they're going to blow everything away. And I don't necessarily think they will. I think that there'll be some hiccups. I think there'll be some write-offs. And I'm going to listen to a guy like Stephen Flanagan with 45 years experience at JP Morgan that sort of, said that that has been the case. So we will see that and see what happens. I will point out again in the report, they say highly rate-sensitive lenders such as Bank of America, Citi, Wells Fargo, and JP Morgan that bank millions of consumers and investors will again look to their management team's guidance on how much money they expect to make off interest payments. Net interest income is a significant source of the four banks' overall revenue, So that's what I'll be watching as we go into the market, as we go into those earnings reports. So we'll talk about that more. Maybe I'll try to get a guest or talk more with Steve Flanagan about that tomorrow. That might be the way to go. I will talk with Steve a little bit more about that on the show tomorrow. It is 10 o'clock, everybody. As we finish up here, let's take one last look at the major indices and what we have going on. QQQ now up almost a point. We are seeing a nice move to the upside. SPY, nice move to the upside, both at highs of the day. Tick now up positive for the last 15 minutes or so. Good to see that. Bitcoin did break through that 63, so it's in a runaway. Love to see that Bitcoin moving to the upside. Don't forget to watch on HBO tonight. They are going to tell you who they feel is Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin. We've talked about it a lot on the show here. Even money for me is either Sassman or Hal Finney are the two choices there. It doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, both of those gentlemen are dead, so they're not going to be able to tell you whether they are or aren't. So as we break into the market here again, as we take our break till 11:30 when Jeremy Vreeland and Matthew Tuttle of Tuttle Capital will be back to bring you their watch list, things I'm keeping an eye on. One last look at OTRK. Take a look, man. That thing broke above 5 here. It got as high as 555. You saw that live here as we called that out at 303 here earlier this morning. 303 made a run up as high as 545. So that was definitely the breakaway today. That's going to do it for me this morning. Again, I am your host, Howard Greenberg. Thank you for joining into Quasar Markets Live, and join us back again at 11:30 for Jeremy Vreeland and Matthew Tuttle, the watch list, where they go over all the technical analysis for the day. Then we have Scott Bauer from Prosper Trading Academy with his Market Minds live from SIBO, although I do know he is in Colorado this week doing it remotely. Everybody, have a good day trading and have a great